Hey guys, it's Bugay here. Just gonna make a video to show you guys a fun Crusader variation of the Valor Heaven's Fury build. It's very safe to use, and I was able to use this build with under 1,000 Paragon level, no augments, and complete Greater Rift 110 relatively easily. So this is just a fun casual build to play. It's spec'd a little safer to use for more casual type of players, and it's just a fun build, so let's just get into it. So let's first just explain a little bit about the core part of this build, which is obviously going to be the Valor Set itself. So when looking at the Valor Set, a 2-set bonus allows you to deal 100% increased damage with Heaven's Fury each time you're attacking with Fists of Heavens, and that stacks up to 3 times. With the 4th set, attacking with Fists of Heavens returns 5 Wrath and reduces damage taken by 1% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 50 times. So essentially when you're using the Fists of Heavens, it helps keep your Wrath regeneration up, gives you great damage reduction, and then also increases the damage that your Heaven's Fury does. So it's important to keep those stacks up in that instance. Now having the 6th set will increase the damage of Fists of Heavens and Heaven's Fury by 20,000. So that's where a big part of the damage comes from. The next big part of a set that you're using here is going to be the Captain Crimson set. So with this set, this 2 set gives you life regeneration, reduce cooldown reduction by 20%, and then also reduce resource cost by 20%. With the 3 set, damage dealt is increased by a percentage of your cooldown reduction. So high cooldown reduction gives you increased damage, and then damage taken is reduced by a percentage of your cost reduction. And we're able to utilize both of those sets because we are using the Ring of Royal Grandeur in our passive slots. So one of the most important things to consider in this build is going to be getting a good one-handed weapon. So fortunately for Crusader, Pig Sticker is a very easy legendary weapon to get, even as an ancient legendary dagger. Because for Crusaders, there's only 2 level 70 daggers that are legendary. If you upgrade rare daggers that are level 70, there's a 50% chance you get a Pig Sticker, and 1 out of 10 Pig Stickers you get should theoretically be an ancient. So that's a good way to get a good Pig Sticker earlier on for you to use. There's also going to be the Shield of Fury, which is an important shield to be using to give you increased damage as well. But let's go ahead and dig into what stats you want now for most of your items for this build. So for Pig Sticker, you're trying to get as high as a damage roll as possible. Try and get increased percentage damage, attack speed. Chance to do area damage on hit is not absolutely necessary. That could be switched out for resource reduction or life per hit. That will give you more survivability. And then also cooldown reduction. You want that as high as possible for that. And then using a emerald gem. Looking at the Shield of Fury, you want strength, crit hit chance, and then cooldown reduction. And your secondary, each time enemy takes damage from your Heaven's Fury, increase the damage they take from your Heaven's Fury by 30%. This effect stacks up to 20 times, and you want that to be as high as possible, ideally 30% for that. Now let's look at our Amulet. For our Amulet, we want the Flavor of Time, holy damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and cooldown reduction, ideally if possible. Really, the secondary effect is what makes it so strong. The pylon lasts twice as long, so when you're going through rifts, you happen to hit that power pylon, conduit pylon, cooldown reduction pylon. It's going to give you a lot of increased damage from that instance for that. For your rings, you're looking at the Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac, attack speed, crit hit chance, cooldown reduction. You could switch out that attack speed and keep the resource reduction, because that will give you more survivability, but it's just a personal choice for you. Now with this ring, it reduces the cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second each time you hit with a resource spending skill. So this will allow you to keep your Akarat's champion up basically at all times, and all your other survivability skills as well. Your other ring you're using is going to be Convention of Elements, your COE. Crit damage, crit chance, cooldown reduction, as high as a roll percentage as possible on the secondary trait. You gain up to 200% increased damage when it rolls through the holy, which you'll be using for that. And those are the three primary amulets and rings you're looking for. Now for the bracer, you want the bracer fury, holy damage, strength, crit hit chance, life per hit, that can be switched out for vitality as well. And then for secondary stats for most of your gear, you're going to be looking for some type of secondary resistance. And then in some instances, maybe some CC reduction percentage chance is not too bad as well. You want as high of a roll of Heaven's Fury damage as possible. So it deals 400% increased damage to enemies that are blinded, immobilized, or stunned when you're using your skills. So we're looking at our helmet. We want strength, vitality, crit hit chance. Again, secondary stat, secondary resistance, or reducing CC. Shoulder strength, resistance to all elements, cooldown reduction, as high as the Heaven's Fury damage as possible. Hand, strength, crit damage as high as possible, crit chance high as possible, cooldown reduction. If you are higher Paragon levels, you don't need the strength. You can switch it out for attack speed. Would be fine as well. For chest, strength, vitality, Heaven's Fury damage as high as possible. Reduce damage for range attacks, reduce damage for melee attacks. Belt, strength, vitality, resistance to all elements, life percentage. Pants, strength, vitality, resistance to all elements. 2 sockets, obviously. And with the gems, when you're higher or when you're lower Paragon level, you can put in the ruby gems to get additional strength. Now, if you happen to be higher Paragon level, above 1500, 2000 Paragon level, then putting in resistance gems, or even if you're above 1000, putting in the resistance, the diamond is a good choice as well. Diamond and helmet for the reduced cooldown reduction in the meantime, for now. And then for your boots, a strength, vitality, a resistance, and then regeneration, or you can use armor. That is fine, perfectly fine as well. So those are most of the gear. The gems you want to be using for this, it's going to be Golgook of Swiftness. That each time that you attack, you can increase attack speed and dodge chance, stacking up to 15 times, and also cooldown reduction. So that's increased damage and survivability. Pain Enhancer, essentially when there's large mobs, you gain an incredible amount of increased attack speed for each bleeding enemy. And with this Pain Enhancer, critical hits cause enemies to bleed. So this will help you really wipe out mobs as a solo for sure. And then finally, you want to use Bane of the Stricken. Each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from attacks by an additional percentage. Also gets increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. So you kind of ramp up while you're fighting those elites in Rift Guardians. Now we're looking at our skills. Let's go ahead and talk about our first 2 primary damage skills. So we Fist of the Heavens. It's not really too much of a damage skill in this case. It's just helping you regenerate Warrior Wrath and increase your survivability. And you want to use the Fisher Ruin for this. You don't want to spam this too much, but you do want to keep this up a good amount. The reason why I say you don't want to spam it too much, sometimes if you spam a lot, it can cause a little bit of lag. So it's just up to you how much you want this to be spammed. Now, of course, Heaven's Fury is our main damage dealer. We're using Fires of Heaven. This deals weapon damage as holy damage to all enemies it hits. There's no cooldown on it anymore, but it does cost additional wrath, 40 wrath. Laws of Valor. When you activate this, it grants you and your allies increased attack speed. A passive gives you attack speed. And while active, also reduces all the wrath costs of your skills by 50% for 5 seconds. You can really spam that Heaven's Fury. Judgment is a great survivability skill. So here I'm using Debilitate. Enemies in the judge area deal 40% reduced damage for 6 seconds, and when you pass judgment on them, it immobilizes the enemies within that target location as well. And that obviously combos with your Bracer Fury. It allows you to do increased Heaven's Fury damage. Iron Skin is a staple for most Crusader builds. You turn your skin to iron, you absorb 50% of all incoming damage for 4 seconds. Using Flash Rune, if you take damage while Iron Skin is active, you have increased movement speed and you get to move freely through enemies unhindered. So it works as like a illusory boots. Akarat's Champion Prophet, additional survivability, increased armor, and then when you take fatal damage, you get back to full life. So it's a good get out of jail free card essentially. And then you also do increased damage by 35% when you have this active, and you increase wrath regeneration. For our passives, we're going to be looking at Fervor. When using a one-handed weapon, your attack speed is increased by 15%, all cooldowns reduced by 15%. Long Arm the Law increases the effect of all laws by 5 seconds. Indestructible, when you receive fatal damage, you become immune to damage. Gain 35% increased damage and increased life per hit. And then this effect occurs once every 60 seconds. So now you have 2 survivability skills that will make it very, very hard for you to die. And it makes it a little more relaxing when you're running through the higher grade rifts as well. In Holy Cause, damage dealt by your weapon is increased by 10%, and whenever you deal holy damage, you heal up to 1% of your total life. I already mentioned the Ring of Royal Grandeur. You want to have that in their cube, and then you also want to have Fate of the Fell. Heaven's Fury gains 2 additional rays and has its damage increased by 500%. And then Stone Gauntlets, so it gains additional survivability each time you get hit. Increases your armor by 50%, but does reduce your movement speed and attack speed by 20%. Stacks up to 5 times. So this is just a great build to use, and we've gone over most of the skills and gear so far. But if you're a lower Paragon level, some things to look out for is to focus on getting your movement speed as high as possible first, and then strength. Offense, you want cooldown reduction and crit hit chance. Defense, you want all resistance and life percentage. And utility, you want life per hit and resource cost reduction, which will give you increased survivability, or you can get area damage. So this is if you're lower Paragon, like 400. Of course, if you're getting higher Paragon level, you're going to have most of these maxed out. So hope you guys enjoyed that quick run through of a slight variation of the Valor Heaven's Fury build that is more focused on survivability and is pretty nice to use, that allows a casual player to do greater riff of 110 and above. So if you like any of this content, please go ahead and like and subscribe to this channel as well. So, and if you have any questions and comments, please leave them below, and I'll get back as best as I can to all your comments and questions below. So thank you guys.